It's that time again. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary. Welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, June 27th, 2022. We are almost into July, folks. It is hot. It is muggy. Actually, it's not that hot today. It's only 19 degrees. But you know what I mean. It's summertime. Time for hanging by the pool, having drinks, and doing all the summer things. Yeah. I'm your host, Tristan. Let me just get my opening spiel up and ready. I run two ongoing projects at the moment, stepbackhistory.com, and which is a show where I talk about the connection between the past and the present, and sort of why history is important to understanding the way the world works. And I'm also the co-host of It's Probably Not Aliens, a podcast where me and my co-host Scott Nicewander investigate or respond to the show Ancient Aliens, but also investigate stuff about pseudo-archaeology, UFOs, all that kind of stuff. Very fun times. This stream I do Mondays at noon. So if you're around or noon, what happened to Tristan won't shut up? It is on pause mostly because of time constraints, but there'll be more on that in the future. I have plans for it. I just what's it called? I currently am basically a part-time YouTuber and full-time parent. So once he's in daycare, my baby is in daycare, which will happen in March, I have some very big changes planned to pretty much everything I do. So and Tristan Won't Shut Up will factor into that. So hang tight. Yeah, I go by he, him pronouns. If you wish to support my work, you can go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory and support my work for as little as 84 cents a month, where you get to ask patron Q&As, which come out every week. You get a weekly update post by me to figure out what's going on in the world of Step Back and my work. And you also get you also get to see videos a little bit early. And yeah, you can do it for as little as 84 cents a month if you buy the yearly membership. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription every month, and you can use that to also support this show at no extra cost to you. It just goes right off of Jeff Bezos's money. So if you do that, you go to Twitch, you just give the Prime subscription. It's very much appreciated. And of course, if you do have a little bit of money, anything like super chats, bits, and Twitch subscriptions are all welcome and appreciated, so thank you very much for that. As far as content goes, my latest video is on the Uvalde shooting and why the police didn't do anything. It was very dark. And my latest video, which is not going to be coming out today because I ran out of time and I hyper-focused, and also some huge amount of stuff, or not some huge amount of stuff, but I think that it is very much in need of an addendum because of the events of last Friday. So I am still not finished. So I'm hoping, inshallah, to finish it tomorrow. But we'll see. And yeah, if you want to submit questions for future streams, I'm going to put a link in the chat that you can go to submit questions. Go for that. And then, yeah, if there's any new folks here also, please make yourself known. We have a very great chat community, and everybody will be happy to have some new people to say hello to. So yes, say hello. Make yourself known. Without further ado, let's get Mia on the horn, shall we? Working on it. Mia's some rotating squares right now. So, how is chat? I know it's been a bit of a rough weekend, so I imagine everybody's sort of processing everything in their own way. Oh.
Hold on.
Oh my. I just got the message.
And I can't hear you at all.
Oh no.
Now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
How?
I don't know. I am hearing you though.
Is the sound different? Sorry, I'm having everything is breaking right now. Everything.
The Fates don't want you. They don't want you to show up on this show. You have to defeat them.
Can I do a quick rant before we go?
Of course. That's what it's all about.
That's so that I have to hold the thing. I also have to like open up everything because my computer just doesn't.
And since you did say that you were Dutch or part Dutch, and now you've got your Dutch angle going.
Yeah. Sorry. Holy shit. So what the? I have to like perch this thing in a weird way. So... Okay. So first of all, I'm coming to you. Jesus Christ on a bike. All right. First of all, I'm coming to you from the surface of the sun. Everything is on fire, and I hate everything. Second of all, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. All of my microphones, all of them have broken. So now I've jury-rigged up a thing where my camera microphone, which isn't supposed to be a microphone, is acting as a microphone. Like my shotgun microphone, which isn't meant for like PC use. It's acting as my microphone.
Oh, dear God.
But everything else is broken. Everything is breaking.
But you made it. I know that as soon as I like started the call and it was ringing, I was looking. I was like, "You just said, oh no, I might not be able to come because my mic broke." And I'm like, "Oh no."
Yeah, I've been fighting like a maniac for the last like 3 hours trying to like fix everything.
Oh my. Well, I appreciate it.
Sorry that I'm like fully crooked.
It's cool. It makes you dramatic. Fits the lighting. It's like you hacked the stream.
Anyway, I'm here. I might not be able to like hang out for like the entire thing because my microphone is battery powered and it might die, and I don't have a backup battery.
Is it like hopefully it's a rechargeable
I'm
battery and you don't have to like go to the store and get new ones?
It is not. It is not rechargeable.
Oh no, so you have to like go to like the grocery store and get double A's or whatever.
Yes, exactly. Because I don't have a spare. This is the last. I actually, here's the fucked up thing, right? Because like I used the last of my battery for this microphone for my last video, so I had to use my backup thing for this stream, and the backup it's not fully charged. Go ahead.
Oh no. I'll have to find a way to get you some crowns. Some crowns for your battery woes.
Anyway, so like if I sound like weird, that's what's going on, because I have to sort of like I'm basically in the engineering hold of the Starship Enterprise while she's going through like a sun.
Yeah. Well, you managed to rotate PDF pretty well.
Thank you. How are you? First of all.
Not bad. It was I am not on the surface of the sun. It is weirdly enough only 19 out here, so I'm like, but it was really bad yesterday, so I'm taking the relief. Cause yeah, like last week we had like heat warnings and everything like that. So it was the surface of the sun last week where we had like 34 to 40 degree weather, but now it's like down to 19. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Must be nice.
Yeah. I'm just gonna rub it in a little bit.
Yeah.
But then yeah.
Yeah.
But then the weekend was there was a beer fest, so I went to beer fest.
I'd love to have a beer fest.
Yeah, I learned.
We had midsummer here the other day, which was nice, but it was also surface of the sun weather.
Yeah.
So
bad weather for blood eagles.
Very bad. It rots very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We call it rot month. That's actually just true, because all the food in your house will rot this month because of the heat.
Ah. I mean, luckily your summer is about 6 minutes long before you go back to winter, so it shouldn't be too long now.
Yeah, hopefully. Sorry, like I'm also like dying a little bit of like this heat. I've been like spraying myself with a water bottle like all day.
Oh my goodness. You went above and beyond to come onto this stream. Oh my goodness.
Like we weren't meant to live here. Global warming is going to kill us all.
Yeah, if it's like that in fucking Sweden, what hope do we have? But before we continue though, you should tell everybody who you are, because if you're gonna work that hard to show up on some guy's stream, then you probably make some pretty bomb ass content.
I make okay content. My name is Mia Mulder, and I'm suffering from heat stroke, and I make videos about history stuff.
That works.
That works.
I will take it.
That works. Ew. On your own stream.
How are things in your land besides the last few hours?
Things are fine. Things are okay. People here are a little bit shaken up over the fact that there was a terrorist attack in Oslo.
Oh yes, I did hear about this.
Yeah, a few days ago. At a gay bar. So that's been the drama here, where some people like where a lot of people who typically are extremely homophobic every single day of the year are now saying that we need to ban all the immigrants so that we can protect the gays.
The classic.
So, classic misdirection.
Mm-hmm. I guess, I don't know, here in Canada, our discourse has been pretty much dominated by the American news. So
about all like more shootings and incompetence from police.
More of the abortion thing.
Oh, of course.
So that's pretty much...
because people don't have rights.
Yeah.
Apparently. Judges, a couple of unelected nerds.
Yeah, as someone said, a group of 9 unelected wizards whose job is to channel the ghost of Thomas Jefferson and find out what he thinks about a current issue.
Yeah.
And like, this is one of those situations where it's like, I want to have more to say, but I'm like, it sucks. It's bad.
Everything sucks, yeah.
Yeah, as a historian, I know that it unwrites a whole bunch of precedent, and it's the first step towards victory of a group that its long-term goal is to bring back segregation. This is the first step towards bringing back segregation. So it's a thing.
Yeah. Is it like Oberfell v something is like next?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then soon it will be, and soon it's going to come for laws like Loving v. Virginia, which was the miscegenation one. And after that, it'll be stuff like Brown versus Board of Education and those kinds of things. So that's it's interesting that now everybody is just like all of these Supreme Court justices are like talking openly and excitedly about how many rights they want to take away.
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah, they're like, we can't wait to take away this right and this right and this right.
And the first thing the fucking Democrats do is like, give us money, please, so we can prevent this by being in elections.
Give us money so that we can read poetry every single time your rights get taken away.
So we can read God Bless the USA on the steps of the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Like, the Democrat Party is, like, addicted to losing and just being complete stupid, right?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So this is I guess is the closest thing I have to an actual insight on it, which is that I don't think I have seen as many normie American liberals get as mad at the Democrats for doing Joe Brandon and the Democrats for doing Joe Brandon and Democrat stuff than this moment.
Yeah.
And like I think my wife sent me a text message that was like, Akilah Hughes, who I guess is like a turbo lib, was calling for a general strike.
Well, I agree.
Yes. All I gotta say is,
Does this mean Slavoj Žižek was right and acceleration is well, it doesn't work yet, but maybe we'll see.
It depends. I don't know. America is not a country that I would like to turn up the temperature on because it is a country where one side of the political spectrum has all of the weapons. So, but I will say that there is a country, a much maligned country on this stream, that every time they are even slightly inconvenienced by the government, they basically destroy the capital. And that's France, and France leverages that to get a lot of shit that they want.
Sorry, what did you say?
I was talking about how France is a country that if they get slightly inconvenienced by the government, they destroy the capital, and
Yes.
that's why they have a lot of the things they want. And it's just like, listen to the maybe I know this is a very strange thing to say on the stream, but maybe the French have a point.
Controversial opinion.
Yeah.
The French might be correct on something.
Because in my mind, I think it's because in France, the politicians are actually afraid of their citizens.
As they should be.
Yeah. In America, they know that, like...
Deadass.
Yeah, in America, they know that they can take away people's rights, and the worst that they're going to do is make these sort of impotent calls for voting and read poetry on and stuff like that, and do silent protests or whatever. And they know that, like, they're never going to, like no one's going to... If you piss off the American liberals, they're not going to come down to downtown Washington, D.C. with a truck full of manure and just spray it all over the government buildings.
They should.
Which
Americans should do that more often, I feel like.
Yeah. Which, by the way, French farmers did do that when they had a slight increase in their taxes.
Like slight increase of gas tax.
Yeah.
We will burn down your country.
We'll burn down the city. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's rough. Is this like? I'm coming to the position because like my latest video is on the rise of identity-based violence and hate crimes in America. Specifically, my video that I'm working on right now, that I'm hoping will be out tomorrow, was on the far-right groups attacking, what's it called? Drag Queen Story Hour and the Iowa or Idaho Pride event. I don't know if you saw these stories. But in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, 30 people who are members of Patriot Front, which is sort of like a far-right militant group, were arrested because they were going to attack Pride.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
they got like instantly arrested too, like the second they walked out of the thing.
Yeah. And in San Francisco, a bunch of Proud Boys decided to basically like jeer and yell at Drag Queen Story Hour. And I was like, hey, these groups are primarily focused on being racist. Why are they doing all of this anti-LGBTQ stuff? And then so I'm talking about how they use this kind of shit to recruit.
Sorry, what did you say? Sorry, I feel like I'm like completely like mentally incapacitated today because of the heat.
No.
So I'm like a little bit stupid.
It's all right. Basically,
like, I hope you like I love you very much, and I hope you understand that like I'm just sorry that like my brain is foggy.
It's okay.
Actually, I'll be back in like a second because I need to get like a water spray bottle because I am sweating to death in this office.
Go for it.
I'm really sorry that I have to do this, but I can't survive.
Yeah, no worries. How are we doing, chat? What's chat talking about? Yeah, it's not hot here, but yesterday was pretty bad. We were outside. It wasn't like super hot, but it was really, really, really humid, so we could not cool off. And we were out with the baby, and I was really worried about the baby because it was like really hot for a baby. So we had to what's it called? It was a difficult day overall, but yeah. You always heard it pronounced Coeur d'Alene. Oh my goodness, yeah. America. That's like one of the things about the U.S. is they have this is like the Louisiana Purchase was the greatest mistake in history because it meant that Americans got a whole bunch of land that is named after French things, and it has led to some of the worst pronunciated things in history, like the city in Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, being called Course d'Alene or whatever. And Mia is back.
I am back. I have a spray bottle. I can cool myself down with some water.
Gosh, this is dedication.
Well, I love doing these things, but I may have to like come back next week. And, like I think I can only do like the 1 hour today.
That's okay.
My office does not have good ventilation, and today is like really hot.
Yeah. Stay cool. I get it.
All right.
Let's see. I think we got a question that was very Mia focused that I couldn't answer without you. So, yes, because it's directed to you specifically. So we can just do that one first. So, Mia, last week you answered a lot of questions about trans people possibly... Oh my goodness. Okay. Starting off real freaking light and fluffy. About a possible mass murder of trans people getting particularly visibly upset. How do you, without getting particularly visibly upset, how do you do that? I don't think I could spend an hour talking about autistic people, and then in brackets, I'm autistic, getting genocided for an hour a week and not freak out.
Wait, sorry, what was this? I don't remember what the context.
So
I was
last week we talked about. So last week or last time you were here, we talked about the sort of withholding of trans healthcare being a form of backseat genocide or backdoor genocide, and we kind of disagreed with that notion. But like, I guess this person is commenting on like you were able to talk for an hour about people who are trying to erase your people off of the face of the planet, and you did not seem particularly visibly upset. And he was just like, "How do you do that?" Because
because I'm the Joker, baby. No, I think it's because I think it's just because I'm used to like activism for a little bit. Like I before I went into YouTube, I did like social activism, and I think that doing that and like interacting with politics more directly it hardens you a little bit. I feel like it makes you sort of like. It makes you be able to be a bit more detached from things that are obviously like very, very important.
Okay. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Like, when you're in activism, not only do you have to deal with other people's vile shit constantly, you're also a content creator, a trans content creator on the internet of all places, where I'm sure you end up with a bunch of vile shit constantly as well. Then also, yeah, you are like literally like advocating for your rights and stuff like that. So like, yeah, you numbed to all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh goodness.
Like you know, it kind of sucks that that's the way it is, but being on Twitter for long enough, like I think Failing quickly just said, spend enough time on Twitter so transforming you get used to it.
Oh man. Okay. So I haven't visited this channel. When did the chatification of Tristan start? What? Did I chatify?
You've chatified a little bit.
Yeah, I guess. It's just all that dad energy. I have evolved into my final form.
Tristan dad.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay, so it is a complicated situation, for, like, I don't know. I don't like putting you through the psychic damage every time we do this stuff every week, though.
Oh, it's fine. Today's psychic damage comes from the sun and not from anything.
That is the ultimate enemy. One day we will learn to defeat the sun.
I will defeat the sun.
The enemy of all Swedes everywhere.
Kinda.
Oh, I just noticed, so I don't have, because I'm a millennial, I don't have that many friends who actually have kids. But we just met a new acquaintance who are a couple that are having kids very soon and live nearby. And it's very exciting, but they're also both they're grad students from Munich. And I was like, "Oh my god, our kids are like almost the same age." And I'm like, "Are they going to have like an efficient German baby?"
Got the Protestant baby work ethic.
Yeah. And it's like, and just like I'm thinking like our kid like being like doing all this stuff, and then like just being like, because we're going like the super, like it's me raising a kid, so I'm just like, you can do whatever you want, you are free, and you are like, be creative and lovely. And then I'm just like, is your friend going to be, I am efficient German baby, gaga goo goo?
That baby will have a fully operational spreadsheet by the time that they're 6 months old.
Would you like to play this game for babies? Here is 10,000 meeples and a dice pool, and it's an engine builder. Do you know what this is?
It's an engine stock building simulator.
Yes.
You have to contend with market forces regarding from other engine builder companies.
To build a civilization and then colonize other ones.
Germans make good games.
This is true. Although, what's it called? I'm playing we just got a board game, a German-style board game, and we are enjoying it immensely. It's the first engine builder game I've ever played, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. Which is Wingspan. Have you ever heard of this game?
Yes, the bird one. Right?
Yes. Yeah. It's very cute, very clever.
I haven't played it, so I don't really know that much about it, but I've seen it around.
My kid's gonna be like, "Can I go over to my friend's house? He just got Warehouse Simulator on his Wii or on his Switch." That's the other German thing, right? They play video games that are just like going to work again.
Yeah.
My favorite games are simulating truck, simulating warehouse, simulating forklift.
Simulating farm.
Yeah.
What do you need? Tristan, my very good friend, I'm sorry that I might have to, I actually, like, the heat is actually getting to me a little bit. I don't think that I will be able to do even a full hour. I know that, like, I was initially about to come on, then I said no, and then I came on again with a during audio solution, and now I had to leave again. I know it's really shitty, but I can come back next week.
That is all good. Thank you so much. I know you have already gone above and beyond for the cause of the Monday Discourse. So please, I think I speak for everybody in the chat. Stay cool, stay chill. Just maybe go put on a simulation game where it's a simulation of playing a simulator, and
they have those, those exist.
And
I might actually play a train station simulator because that exists too. But yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go and drinking water. I'm gonna drinking water, lane water. You can tell that I'm going insane over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good stream. I'll see you next week.
Take care. Auf Wiedersehen. Okay. Well, we are into the solo stream mode today. Which is fine. Poor Mia. Okay, so what's going on in this what's going on in chat? Train Sim World sounds better than Mudsport. Don't touch wrong. Oh my goodness. I do not play the simulator right now. Like my thing right now is playing deck building. I was gonna say my thing is playing deck building roguelites. No, it's playing specifically Slay the Spire like all the time. I have it on my desktop and I have it on my phone, and it is the game that I can like. That I see. Sometimes the amount of time that I have now with a baby to play games is measured in seconds. And I can just be like, I'm just going to play one round of this game and then go and do other things. And so it's like Slay the Spire has been the only game that can be so micro, but still satisfy my need to play overly complicated games that have their own wikis. Because apparently that's my problem. I just got another game that's sort of in the same genre called Rogue Legacy, which is very interesting because here are the games that I play. I'm playing Slay the Spire a whole bunch, but I've also been playing Magic the Gathering Arena. And when I found out that there's this game called Rogue Legacy, I haven't played it yet. I just got it because it was on sale. But it has the creator of Magic the Gathering as part of the development team for it. And I already have, it's like Andrew Garfield? Not Andrew Garfield, I can't remember what his name is. But he also made another board game I have downstairs called King of Tokyo, which I also very much enjoy. And so this new game, Rogue Legacy, I'm pretty excited to give a shot to. If anyone's played it in the chat, please let me know if it's any good. Richard Garfield, that's it. I was like the artwork of Magic the Gathering cards. That's awesome. Andrew Garfield inventing magic is deep lore. Yeah, yeah. Long before Spider-Man, he didn't have a different hobby. Yeah, I'm excited to give a try to that. Rogue Legacy is supposed to be pretty good. Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to give it a shot. Because I've always thought that, like, hey, Slay the Spire is really cool. Slay the Spire and the roguelike deck building mechanics are really cool. And what I think needs to happen to get to that concept is it needs to be then developed into an RPG. Because I was like, a turn-based RPG that's like a roguelike, covering the world, fighting things, but then also is a deck builder card game. I was like, please, somebody make this game. It sounds like this is probably what Rogue Legacy is going to be, so I'm pumped for that. Man. I also recently... Oh, no. I'm not talking about Rogue Legacy. I'm talking about Rogue Book. That's the game I'm talking about. Not Rogue Legacy. Rogue Book. I actually think I have Rogue Legacy too. I just haven't played it. But I like, one of the things I like about Slay the Spire is it's got that, like, it's got a lot more perfect knowledge than a lot of card games, which means, like, like, the whole idea that you have to, like, know what you're going to defend yourself against and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I really like a lot of the concept of it. Hello, Johnny Desu. Welcome into the stream. All right. So I don't know. I'll try Rogue Book at some point. I'm pretty excited for it. Rogue Legacy though. Which one's that? I just want to. I do have Rogue Legacy. I just haven't played it. Oh yeah, that's the one where like it's like that's one that's like a side scroller where when your character dies, you then play as like a descendant of your character. That sounds like pretty fun. The only card you got into was Scrolls, but Mojang closed that to focus on Minecraft. I think I tried Scrolls when it first went into beta, and it was okay. But I've been having a lot of fun with having a lot. One of the reasons why I've been playing Magic the Gathering is because one of my friends here in town is getting into it and has been having draft nights with my friends and with his friends, and has invited me to come along, which gives me something to do because I don't have a lot of, I don't get to go out very much. So going out on a Friday night to play a Magic draft, and I was like, oh, if I'm going to play, if I'm going to be what's it called? If I'm going to play this thing every other Friday or whatever, then I should probably learn to get good at it. So I got Magic the Gathering Arena, and I've been playing it quite a bit. Got into Diamond League in standard competitive ranked constructed. But I like drafting most, but I'm really bad at it. So that is what it is. This is probably pretty boring for most people, so I'm going to move on to the questions, which is what people are really here for. I don't think people... I'm like, I really don't want to talk about all the depressing news, but that's what y'all want. That's the hole I dug for myself. So let's see what we got. Got a question here from Hayden. How do you square the work of abolitionists and leftists in 19th century America who fought for the end of slavery and to protect civil rights for black people while simultaneously endorsing straight up participating in cultural or physical genocide of indigenous people? How do I square that work? You just realize that that people in history grew up, like there's this term that I really like using, although I don't like completely agree with it, but there is some very very real truth to it, which is that the past is like another planet. The past is another planet, and the other people are aliens, because to understand like the 19th century in the 21st century is almost impossible. And the other thing too is that anybody who studies history knows that there are no, with the exception of John Brown, there are no unqualified heroic figures. That everybody is complicated, because the thing is that this isn't story time. This is history. And that history is made up of real people who were inconsistent, flawed, and very much did not live up to the standards of our time. That is always going to be true. That is going to be true of us 100 years from now. And it was true of people back then. And so when there are people who have, like, when you study people in the past, there are people who you can be inspired by their heroic work for civil rights, but just know that doesn't make them universally good, and just know that anybody in the past is going to have some shitty, complex positions on things because they grew up in a shitty society. They grew up in a time that was much more cruel and had much more assumptions and all that kind of stuff. Will Canada take in women from USA? Possibly. The thing is, like, Canada's in this awkward position with the United States because there has been many cases, I would say, especially during the Trump years, that Canada probably should have been willing to take in American refugees. But the thing is, that would involve removing America as what's called a safe haven country, which would mean that we would be essentially it would be a sign that we would be openly saying to our closest ally that we no longer consider you a safe place for marginalized people, and that could very much hurt the relationships between the two countries. And Canada, while that might be a thing that we actually believe, it's not really a thing that we would be able to afford on the international scale, because Canada's entire standing on the global scale is dependent on being a close, sycophantic ally of the United States. And so doing anything to piss off the United States is done at our own risk, is what I will say. John Brown married a teenager as an adult. Okay, yeah, I did not know that. That is fucked up. Which sucks because John Brown was, from all accounts, a Giga Chad. I was planning on making a video at one point called John Brown, History's Greatest Chad, and just how he was the most Chad person to have walked this earth, especially in the United States. Because just thinking about a few things. One, in Kansas, when Kansas broke down into sort of civil strife before even the Civil War over whether or not it was going to have slavery, and John Brown just straight up was killing pro-slavery people there. And then he got arrested trying to steal weapons from the U.S. Army to give to slaves to lead a slave uprising. In which, when he was arrested, he defended himself with a sword. And then when he was executed, he basically said that there is no redeeming this country except through blood. And then like the next year, the Civil War started. So, yeah. And also, I don't know. Yeah, he married. The other thing too that kind of speaks to his chatification is that he did marry his wife, and they had 10 kids in 10 years, which means, yeah. I don't know what the age gap was, though. Which is problem. It was a much more normal thing in the Victorian age, but that doesn't excuse it, obviously. All right. So there you go. History's complicated even for John Brown. Is Mia not coming today? She was on briefly. It's apparently very hot in Sweden, and there isn't great ventilation in her office, so she really wasn't able to keep it together. It was apparently a bit too much. So, and also her microphone was dead, so she was using a condenser, like a shotgun mic from her camera, and using a non-rechargeable battery to keep it going. So she decided to duck out after about half an hour, and said she'll come back next week. I got COVID, you got a dab or I'll die. Oh no, there we go. So, what's the next question here? I know the leftists/anarchists don't have heroes, they just tear heroes down. Retort is a bad faith actor from right-wingers, and right-wingers pretend to be left-wing. But since anti-authoritarians do have heroes, John Brown, Nestor Makhno, Emma Goldman, etc., why are these people unwilling to engage with these figures? I think that, as I said, I think that a lot of being a leftist involves having a good grasp on the past and knowing that history is not a storybook that is made of heroic figures, but that history is a complicated and messy thing filled with people who had complicated and messy lives. And that's just sort of a thing you have to live with. Like, my favorite historical figure is Emma Goldman, who has a lot of extremely inspiring things to go with, but also was also not perfect, and had her flaws, like all people do. But realizing that these aren't supposed to be heroes, they're just people that did cool things. What are the actual benefits to U.S. citizenship? Don't they tax you everywhere, wherever you live in the world? Basically, yeah. My wife's is an American citizen, and we have to file American taxes every year for her income. The only other country that does that is Eritrea. Can I see what happened to pride parades in Norway? I don't know the details, but there was a mass shooting, but I don't know exactly what happened. But there are some like benefits of U.S. citizenship are things like used to be the benefits of being able to go to the United States and live in the United States, which can be very beneficial, and some people fight very hard to get a hold of, but it's obviously becoming less valuable. There is also the visa thing. So there's a bunch of countries that if you want to go from one country to another country, you have to get a visa. And there are some countries that have agreements with other countries so that you can travel to their country without a visa. Like, as a Canadian, I can go to the United States without getting a visa first. I could not say the same about going to Russia. And applying for a visa can be a fraught and difficult process. And so there are some citizenships that have more of those agreements set up where it is more benefit, like you will have an easier time moving around if that is a thing that you want to worry about. Any thoughts on the recent French parliamentary elections? I don't know what the story is on that right now. Thou shalt have no idols is pretty good to apply to humans. Everyone has issues. No one should be worshipped uncritically. I agree with that. The left took Macron's majority in government. Mélenchon is probably going to be prime minister. Nice. Good old Mélenchon. He seems pretty legit. Can we get some of that? Can we get some of that in Canada, where like the left has been rather tamped down, rather destroyed? All right. Let's see, what do we got next? How do we get more people to use the techniques of John Fetterman and Michael Lynch? I don't know who these people are. John Fetterman sounds familiar. Lieutenant Governor. Beginning his professional career in the insurance industry, Fetterman studied finance at Albright College. I don't know what this thing is. When did we last have a proper left? Probably the 30s. Best I can describe their technique as bullying works. Oh man, I know. See, we went the like what's it called in 2012 when we were all like, we need to stop bullying, we need to pass these anti-bullying laws, and then all the freaking nerdy tech bros and incels became terrorists. So it's like, okay, we need to bring back bullying. But yeah, bullying does work, especially in the political realm. How do we get more people to be bullies? I don't know. That is a good question. I guess like realizing that it's what gets the goods, right? Like, people don't realize that voting is not going to accomplish anything. It's not. It never has, never will. And you have to like, you know, the only way that you're going to get anybody to listen to you is you have to make some sort of disruption, you know? You have to threaten the people who have power in a real and material way. Like any protest that has all of the proper permits and has a stage and is perfectly like, you know, accepted and doesn't have like people getting ready to beat the shit out of you it's a show. It's a pageant. It's not a real protest. Anything that like anything like because like the thing is and this is sort of the problem is that we've been conditioned to think that the only appropriate politics or the only appropriate way to achieve political ends are essentially all of the methods that can be most easily ignored, which is a problem. Now I'm not saying that like we need to go to like, you know, guerrilla war right away. That's obviously a bit much, but there are ways, and this is why the civil rights movement was so successful when in the places it was, is because they were willing to make a lot of problems for people who refuse to do things. Like they were able to go in and like cause the disruption and to strike and to, you know, ruin the city's income for their public transit and like all these kinds of things. Like one of the places where Gandhi was successful was just like refusing to do the British's bidding and like just causing problems everywhere. And like really like you have to be doing stuff that is illegal and stuff that is like going to cause disruptions if you want anyone to listen to you, because really at the end of the deal, politicians need to be like, people who have power will not listen to people who don't have power unless they are forced to. And you have to force them one way or another. So that's a bit more than give $15 to your local Democratic senator or whatever the fuck. That's not going to do anything. If anything, the Democrats are working very hard to stop any sort of insurgent movement from below. That's sort of their whole shtick. That's basically their entire bread and butter of recruitment. So, like, yeah, politicians should be at all times slightly terrified that if they get too far out of line, bad things are going to happen to them. But they're not. And that's why they think they can run roughshod over anybody they want. That's the lesson we need to learn. The bigger the country, the more illegal and disruptive shit you need to do. That's probably true, too. I mean, I don't like countries, and I think that the United States is just far too big of a country to be allowed to keep existing. But, yeah. American people are worn out due to endless capitalism. Yeah, aren't we all? Everybody is worn out due to endless capitalism, but America's capitalism is even more endless than most. If you want to invest in your political future, invest in a pair of bolt cutters. I'm not going to tell you what to do with those bolt cutters, but they would make a very good investment in the future of political action in the United States. Robert Evans' best advice, yeah. Well, I am discount Robert Evans, so I am the person that you watch when you have run out of Robert Evans content and you need, like, you know, B tier Robert Evans, and that's where you come to see me. So, what question we got next? Government should be afraid of their people, not the other way around. Exactly. Alright, let's see what we got for more questions. Canada Day is coming up. My family wants me to go to a Canada Day barbecue, but I can't do it. Between the nationalist bullshit of the convoy, the mass graves, and me just nudging more and more towards anarchism, I can't in good conscience go to a celebration of the Canadian state. Thing is, I can't bullshit a good reason not to go, and I'm worried about my family's reaction. They aren't conservative, but a lot of them lean centrist, and I often need to moderate my politics around them just to avoid circular arguments. Should I just come clean? I mean, just what's it called? Point at, like, there are reasons to not want to celebrate Canada Day for, you know, political reasons that you can get into that are more acceptable, I guess. Like, the big one I would probably mention is, like, remember last year with all the freaking orange shirts and stuff like that? I certainly haven't forgotten, and probably, you know, that should be a thing that people do too. The other thing that is important to mention is, like, you don't have, like, what's it called? You don't have to embrace the nationalist holiday in order to just get together for a barbecue. Like, if you're looking for a reason to not go to the barbecue because you don't want to go, that makes sense. But if you're like, I can't handle going to a barbecue with my family because it's technically on a holiday that's for shitty reasons, don't be so hard on yourself. That's about all I can say to that. Because what's it called? Capitalism gives you so little time to rest that, you know. Weren't you a fan of point-and-click PC games back in the day? Were I a fan? When I was a kid, we had a bunch, like the kids point-and-click PC games, like Putt-Putt and shit like that. Like when I was like 6, sure, that shit was bomb. I don't think I played, like, I think a lot of the ones that people are referring to, like the more grown-up ones, I never really played, no. I kind of, when I got out of kids games, and I got out of kids games pretty early in my gaming career, like as a young kid. Because I grew up... So when I was a kid, I had a cousin who lived with us for about maybe 10 years or so. And he was like a full like 16 years older than me. But because of like the situation. Like I felt like I was a bit of a like he was kind of something close to an older brother in the way, because it was very formative years of my life. So he introduced me to like some better computer games very early in my gaming career. So like when I was like 6, he showed me like Diablo and stuff like that. So I got, you know, I didn't really get in through I didn't really get into like the regular point and click adventures. There was one point and click game called Body Park that I thought I really enjoyed. I really thought it was good. There's also Myst. My cousin played a lot of Myst, and I watched him do it. I was a bit too young to understand Myst. Didn't my dad buy me a games console from the 80s? Not my dad. My grandmother got one from a garage sale. Yeah, I had like a wood panel Atari when I was a kid, instead of a Nintendo or a Sega or anything like that. The first console I ever got was an Atari 2600 or whatever, and had like the most like basic shitty games on it, which was the only thing I really had to entertain myself until, or the only video game system I had until I got a PlayStation. So, like while like a lot of people my age have a lot more nostalgia for things like, you know, your Marios, your Sonics, and your Zeldas. I do not, because I never had any of those consoles growing up. But when I was a kid, we did have a computer, and I played like Warcraft 2 and Diablo and Doom and Doom 2 and like all those games. Probably when I was way too young to be playing games like that. But that was sort of that's where I got started. But for consoles, I had, there's the game where you had to, that was basically like Space Invaders, but it was with cavities, cavities, and you were trying to protect the teeth against the cavities by shooting them with toothpaste. And like, I think I have this feeling that I had the old E.T. game for it. That might be just me imposing my memory on the past, but I have a feeling that I had the old E.T. game. And just like all of those like really, really crappy little games. So, something worked. But like, it was already really old. Like, that was while all my friends had while all my friends were playing their Super Nintendos to, do Super Mario. That's what I was entertaining myself with. So I got more into playing on the PC with Doom and stuff like that, and Warcraft, until I got and even when I got like a PlayStation. Actually, when I got PlayStation, I played quite a bit. I was really into the Final Fantasy games for the original PlayStation. Like, I never really played any Final Fantasy games after they left the PlayStation, and I didn't really play any that came out before. But the three Final Fantasy games that came out for the PlayStation, I played a shit ton of. Especially Final Fantasy 8. Played a lot of that one. And God, what other games did I have for it? I had Grand Theft Auto Vice City. That was fun. Didn't have a whole lot of games. I rented a lot of games. Does knowing how shitty Blizzard is ruin your nostalgia for those games? Maybe a little bit. I mean, I feel like, again, it's just like the historic figure thing. Like, I don't need things that I enjoy to be done by perfect people who had no problems. I can enjoy a thing for what it is and understand that it was made under less than stellar circumstances by people who were maybe a bunch of coked out dude bros, and just sort of accept those two facts and go forward. RE1 was the first game I bought for my PS1. So I actually have never played any of the Resident Evils. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I never really did. Blizzard changed a lot over time. That's true. What's it called? I played, I until like the last like maybe like 5 or 6 years, I like played every Blizzard game that came out quite a bit. I even at one point I was like in a one of the top North American World of Warcraft raiding guilds when I was in my late teens and early 20s. Boy, do I regret all the time I wasted doing that. See, the thing is that for me, I haven't played a whole lot of games because most of the games that I own... Love your video on the Baha'i Faith. Very well researched. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. Thank you, Bazoger. I appreciate it. Is that I have a tendency of playing, like, getting a game that I really like and then just playing it for, like, 10 straight years. That's, like, my go-to way. And then I tend to get games that have, like, dedicated communities and subreddits and wikis that are all dedicated to it. Like, the games that I play the most these days... I've been playing a lot of Slay the Spire... but also like Magic the Gathering and like freaking RimWorld and those kinds of things. How many hours in Stellaris? I think I have about 600 hours, which I know is like in Paradox, for Paradox people, that's like, those are rookie numbers. I actually think that the game, although I think Paradox is the game that I have the most, or Stellaris is the Paradox game I have the most hours in. Let me check. Stellaris I have 759 hours in. Crusader Kings 3 I only got 90. Hearts of Iron, I've got 65. And the other ones I don't have installed at the moment. But like Slay the Spire, I've got 360 hours. Okay, that's not that much. RimWorld's got to be... Yeah, RimWorld I've got like 800 plus hours in. What colors do I play the most in Magic and what decks do I enjoy? Ah, that's great. Good news. Good to answer. Good question. I draft a lot, so I don't tend to stick to a lot of colors. But if I do stick to a color, it is probably white. I like white-black decks a lot. And I love white weenie aggro decks to play the most. I am ridiculously into aggro decks. And so I play white weenie aggro a lot. Which I know it makes me like Magic the Gathering cancer, but that is what it is. What are my favorite mods in RimWorld? I would say that my favorite mods are, I mean, the thing that I think is the best is the fucking, like, there is, and I shit you not on this, there is a group of people who I think through Patreon fund like almost a mod-based side development of RimWorld called Vanilla Expanded. And those I think improve the game by a huge amount. Like when I play a lot of games, I tend to try to keep the mods more focused on like quality of life stuff. I don't like particularly have a lot of fun playing like very big hardcore changes of games unless there's something really like really, really cool. But I haven't sunk a lot of hours into a lot of those. But, yeah. I liked, so I'm trying to think about other, like, really good RimWorld mods I like a lot. I have like, yeah, just like a big wall of Vanilla Extended. There's one that there is a mod I like a lot. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but it's one where you can it's a quality of life mod where you can set profiles of different outfits and loadouts for stuff, and you can like kind of have these pre-selected schedules and loadouts for all of your characters that you can then switch between with a button. And it has like a sort of red alert button, so you can just push that button when you get raided, and everybody drops everything they have and runs to go get their military equipment on. I like that a lot. I didn't play Morrowind. No, I never had an Xbox. Because also, I think I had a PlayStation, I had a Nintendo 64, and then I got a PlayStation 2, and then I kind of stopped buying consoles. The next console I got after the PlayStation 2, except for like Game Boys and stuff like that, the next console I got after the PS2 was a Nintendo Switch. So, like, big gap. Because when I was a teenager, I just got like really into. When I was a teenager, I just got really into PC games. Lumi says that they were a Raid Shadow player when they used hate tournaments because half the guys out there obviously in shower are hardcore WoW players the same. There was a stereotype about that. I did not know Lumi played Raid Shadow Legends. I didn't know that anybody played Raid Shadow Legends. I thought that was just a game that they just paid influencers to try and get other people. Like, it's like World of Warships. I'm like, I didn't think that anybody actually played those, or World of Tanks. I didn't think anybody actually played that game. It's just a game that exists entirely in advertisements. As far as like, so I think that in my case, I think that a lot of the people who were in the pro rating scene that I was in were a lot of, if I were to like kind of typecast a lot of them, early in World of Warcraft, it was a lot of people who, for some reason or another, had a lot of free time on their hands and not a lot of social time, either because they were chronically unemployed, or they were like, you know, they were domestic, like, you know, they were like housewives and stuff like that. But then ours also fairly often like people in the military and stuff like that. So there was a lot of that. And then there was also a lot of like kind of like college students who this was like their thing that they did instead of like, you know, going and getting shit-faced in university. So that was my, you know, thing. Because I was in a period of my life where I didn't really have a whole lot of a social life. I was, like, that period, like, 2008 to 2010, I was in this college program for people who had done poorly in high school but wanted to go to university. So I was going to community college. That was my full-time, like, I was going to community college. Community college, the program was not that difficult. It was, like, very low workload, but it was full-time work. I was a full-time student, but I basically had almost no work, and all the assignments were very easy. But also, because it was a commuter college, I went to Sheridan for this, if anyone who lives in Ontario wants to know. And at Sheridan, there wasn't really much of like a campus community or anything like that. And I went to a campus in Oakville, and I lived in another city. So I had to like commute home from school every day, which means that like I did not stay in residence. I didn't really have any I didn't really have like a friend group or anything like that. And so I like went to school, did my classes, you know, then I would just go home, and I didn't really have a lot of friends. Like, a lot of my friends at home in Burlington were, you know, off doing their own things. And so I ended up with like a lot of free time when I wasn't in classes. And then that's how I got into like pro World of Warcraft shit. But that all changed. I in 2010, I went to university. And that was it. That was the end of it. Once I went to university, I went to a university that didn't really even have internet. Well, I had internet, but it was like really shitty internet. So I ended up just having a social life, and that basically changed everything. Did I ever play Pokemon? Yes. I played Red and Blue a lot. Like a lot. Because I was like just the right demographic when Red and Blue were like the hottest that they were ever going to be. And then I think I played a lot of Gold and Silver as well. I enjoyed Gold and Silver a lot more than Red and Blue, but I think that I kind of dropped off after that point. I think I remember getting Pokemon Crystal at some point, but after that I just I think I just outgrew it. I got what's it called? I became more of like a teenager, and Pokemon was more of a thing I played when I was like 10, 11, 12. And when it got into like when I got to like 15, 16, 17, I wasn't that much interested in Pokemon anymore. I think like my peak Pokemon year was like 2002, which was like the year I got a Game Boy Advance. Someone said that World of War Tanks is like very big. World of Tanks is big in Eastern Europe. Okay, that makes sense. Well, okay, so people are actually playing Raid Shadow Legends. Okay, that's interesting. But I will say that, like, I know for a fact that by the time Pokemon got into Ruby and Sapphire, I wasn't playing it anymore. So I never played Pokemon Ruby or Pokemon Sapphire. And I came back briefly, I think, when I was in high school to play Fire Red and Leaf Green. But that was it. Please not Raid Shadow Legends. I was just talking about it because, like, I don't think I know a single person who played it, but apparently people do play it. I don't know what the game is about or anything. I just know that they're a game that tries to get me to sponsor tries to sponsor my videos a lot, and I always turn them down. How do we make the "you must vote" crowd shut up? They don't care that all this happened when we did vote. I mean, I think if anything, this situation is showing that just voting is not working, obviously. I don't know what... I feel like... I actually don't know what will change that. There's such like a strong learned helplessness in the American like liberal centrist wing, where they basically think that anything that would actually work to move the political needle is somehow uncouth and we shouldn't do it. So I guess bullying. But the only thing I can think of is we got to show that that's not the way you get the goods. And if some other method, like, general strikes, civil disturbance, like, actual, direct action stuff, and showing that that actually is what gets you the goods politically, then, Do I study historical forgeries much? Not really. Direct action gets the goods. It does. Weird fact. Liberals hate it. Change your politics with this weird trick. Liberals hate it. But yeah, like I think like all of the big like victories for progressive causes that happened in American history almost entirely come from large direct action movements that happened because politicians were like legitimately scared of their constituency. Like a lot of the labor victories happened because America was like literally terrified of a like worker-led takeover of the government because the labor movement was getting so violent and brutal. And like the civil rights movement victories came a lot with the people just willing to break any system, cause as much trouble as possible in order to get things through. But restraining your work to make and preserve people's rights and saying that it only really works if you focus on like voting and peaceful, ignorable protests every time you're mad about something, that's not going to do anything. No one's going to be afraid of you. You need to force the hand, Alrighty, let's see. What more questions do we got? You have 4 more questions. Each one of them is like a mini essay, so I gotta like, psych myself up for this. All right. In 2020, scientists carried out a study where they found a group of people who exclusively got their news from Fox and paid them to watch CNN. Oh, we covered that one already. Pow. Last stream, you talked about how boomers were propagandized to hate socialism. To what extent was that the only possible because the time period they grew up in was super prosperous, ironically because of left-wing economic policies, so it was easy to believe capitalism was good. The right want to propagandize Zoomers in the same way, like put anti-socialist crap back into school curriculums, but I don't think it's going to work because you can't get people to not notice their own material conditions suck. Yeah, there is the aspect that a lot of like it's easy to get indoctrinated into liberalism if when things are good. No one becomes a socialist on prom night, It is the movement of the downtrodden and the exploited, and the time when boomers grew up was probably the peak of income equality ever, and just like the height of the ease and prosperity of being able to start and develop a career. So, do I study ancient or medieval history much? No, not really. My focus is on U.S. history post-Reconstruction, basically. Is Black Pigeon a fascist? Oh my god! There was a time when the YouTube algorithm thought that people who watch Black Pigeon Speaks would really like Step Back and started recommending my videos on Black Pigeon Speaks videos. And so I got a whole lot of YouTube traffic from Black Pigeon Speaks viewers. And it was a very shitty week when that happened. I don't know what kind of shit the algorithm was on for that week, but it was not a fun week. Just wait, Black Pigeon Speaks is going to disappear and then come back like a month later and is going to do some like very right-wing tilted history content. And then everyone's going to be like, oh, this person hasn't talked about fascism in weeks. You should completely forgive him and just talk about the history videos he does now. Because that's what people did. The last time that there was like a borderline fascist, like basically YouTuber whose entire dedicated channel was to being racist, then pivoted the channel to talk about history, and everyone was like, you have to forgive him now because he makes history videos, and you can just ignore the years and years of being racist that he did. And I was like, this shit? We all know you mean shoe on head. It wasn't shoe on head, but shoe on head fits that model as well. But yeah, it was Kraut and Tea, I think, was the name of the full-time racist YouTube channel that now everyone's like, oh, you have to forgive him now because YouTube. Because now he does his history videos or something. Like, I get it. There's a real lack in good history content on YouTube, but like, you don't need to watch a person who spent years making money off of demonizing Muslims. If you want a good history YouTuber, who I would argue is even better than Step Back, is Kuzro, I think the name of their channel, or the name of the person. Let me get the channel name so that I can hook you guys up with good history content. Yeah, Kazro. Kazro. Very good YouTube channel. It's spelt K-A-Z, and then the second word is R-O-W-E. If you like history content, you're gonna like that channel. Kazro is like what I wish Step Back had turned into. If I had not like just gone down the bread tube thing, which I think I might be regretting at this point. I think that, yeah, I would like Step Back to have felt like Kazro. Will we ever get a StarCraft shooter? Probably not. It does seem like it seemed like they canceled a StarCraft shooter. They were working on one and then they canceled it. It seems that someone at Blizzard is very much convinced that StarCraft is not a strong brand and they're not really interested in promoting it anymore. Kings and Generals is actually based. I've seen them comment on some leftist stuff. Yeah, I know the people who make Kings and Generals. They're pretty good. I used to work for Kings and Generals. I've written... I wrote five scripts for Kings and Generals, of which I think they might have used one. And I also they have a side project to Kings and Generals called the Cold War that I wrote for like years. I only stopped to work on my own stuff full time like last year. And like, I know the guy who runs Kings and Generals. He lives in Toronto. What's it called? Remember, there's a video that I actually filmed on the Cold War set. I don't know if you guys remember that. I had my video on "Is Socialism a Threat?" or whatever. I made that video, and it was the Islamic Golden Age episode was the one you helped with, right? I wrote that. I didn't help with it. I wrote the script for that. The Islamic Golden Age video was supposed to be part 1 in a 5-part series, and I wrote all 5 parts, but it seems like they never actually made the other 4 parts. Maybe because the video didn't perform super well. But yeah, that's the secret. The last pre-COVID Step Back video, yeah, that is true. Yeah, because I think that video actually came out in like early March of 2020. It was great. I wish that I wish that I had more videos like that. Like that's the kind of videos I would like to be making. I'm hoping to get a little bit more of that magic on step back videos with these like bigger videos that I'm working on. But between the baby and making content to just keep the channel moving along, there's not a lot of time for that kind of stuff, sadly. But I am working on them slowly. But yeah, the this Is Socialism a Threat video I filmed at the same studio that they recorded the Cold War in. How many questions left? 4. Oh, after that one, 3. Can you be a socialist if you think regular people are too bigoted and dumb to support left-wing policies? There are a left-wing streamer I follow who calls himself a socialist, but also regularly talks about how he thinks everyone in Britain are too stupid and bigoted to support the left. He said he believes people today are too propagandized to ever support socialism. So are you practically a socialist if you think getting people who live now to go on socialism is impossible? Like the only hypothetical enlightened future people can do it? If you want to build socialism, don't you have to start by working with people who are alive here and now? Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I think that in many ways, a lot of people are at the end of the day socialists. They just won't, they just are propagandized against the word. Like a lot of people agree with a lot of things about socialism if they just, admit what social, like if you describe socialism but you don't call it socialism, they pretty much agree with everything. And then when you just call it socialism, that's when they get angry. So it really is just like the word itself. And also like there's something very elitist about the idea that like, oh, the working people are too dumb and too bigoted to support these things. And it's like, well, in some ways that's cultivated by our culture. In which case, like, accessible educational content is a great way to try and raise consciousness on that. But also just like people know a lot more than people think they do. Like the fact that like there are so many like educators who make their living off of YouTube. Like the fact that I have a YouTube channel that is successful shows that there are a lot of just average people out there who watch very left-wing educational content for entertainment purposes, which has to say something. And in many ways, like to be a socialist, to have like a Marxist idea of how the world works, is to think that at the end of the day, different classes of people will follow their economic interests, and that really it's just understanding that when your material conditions get undermined to a certain point, the incompatible class interests of the ruling and working classes will come into a point of point where they cannot coexist, and then there's a revolution. And that in some ways these things are bigger forces than human beings can actually manage themselves. All right. 2 questions. We've got 25 minutes, so I should probably cool my jets a little bit and hang out a little bit more. Go where my heart will take me. Oh boy. So what else can we? Should I just do the questions and then see where we go from there after that? Yeah, let's finish the questions, just so we can say that, look, I finished the questions. We did it. We did the questions. We're good. All right, next. I know you guys are referencing Yu-Gi-Oh, I think, but I don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, so I can't comment. You know the prosperous time period between the end of the Second World War and the oil crisis of the 70s. To what extent are our ideas of what's normal defined by how white Westerners, particularly in North America, were living in that time period? I mean, if you ask someone to imagine a normal life, they're probably going to imagine a cishet white couple living in the detached house with 2 kids, a car, a dog, and a TV. I think that's pretty accurately describes the lives of a lot of white Americans in like 1959, and it's still being reinforced as what normal by a lot of film and TV. Yeah, it's because boomers basically control all culture, because they are at least at one point they were the largest group of people, and they have all of the political and financial power. So yeah, culture is very much twisted to fit their expectations. That is all I can say to that. What's my primary area of study? When I dropped out of my PhD in 2018, I was a historian of... I studied American history. So my expertise areas were essentially U.S. post-Reconstruction history. I did my comprehensive exams on that, so I can say that I have a I have a pretty good grasp. I could teach a class on post-Civil War America if I needed to. Then I also had some more thematic stuff that I studied. Like I have taken I've studied quite a bit on the history of communication and the history of technology. Those, because my research project was on, or my dissertation was on, it was on the internet and the role of the internet in the forming of memories and the creation of historical narrative, specifically looking at 9/11. And so I was very into that work. So I was studying media studies and communication studies, history of mass media, the history of communication, the history of the internet, which is the history of technology and the history of information technology. And then furthermore, all in the context of the United States. And I also have a master's degree in American cultural studies. So I've studied a little bit on, I did at least a master's degree on U.S. on American culture, and specifically I took a big old class on American violence. I also took a big old master's level seminar on the war on terror, and terrorism in general. So I probably call myself a reasonable expert on terrorism and terror studies. At least as much, if not more, than people who say that they're terrorism experts on the news. Is there any video topic I've wanted to make a video on but haven't for any particular reason, and if you're willing to share why you haven't? Most of the time, if I have a video idea that did not come to fruition, it's because I have a very specific... I have Step Back has niched itself into a very specific area of content that if I make anything outside of it, it doesn't do well. I can't do a H-Bomber Guy video where I'm switching between talking about flat earthers and vaccine denial and then talking about a video game. I don't have that kind of channel prowess. I have a very specific niche and a very specific subject area that I'm allowed to talk about, and I can pretty much do nothing else. And that subject is basically depressing U.S. history linked to more like its connection to like modern day bullshit. So I'm trying to think of so a lot of the videos that I haven't been able to do. A lot of the videos that I haven't want to do are more because they're fun and goofy videos. And a lot of them have become subjects for subjects of discussion in things like episodes of the podcast. But and there's some interesting ones like during the pandemic, I really want to make a video about cleanliness and sanitation, and about like how our idea of disease like developed over time, but that wouldn't do well on my channel anymore. The Communist Party of Canada is having a sex scandal. High-level dude harassed women and the leadership protecting him. CPC folk on Twitter are surprised. Can you give an anarchist take? Yeah, we have this... It's pretty hard to, like, not... it's pretty hard to escape that people, when they have any form of power, will abuse it. And the only really strong answer is to not have any individual have any specific amount of power. And like high levels of position in a political party, even if it is like, you know, a almost non-party like the Communist Party, or you know, but like various like different things like, you know, gender inequality, racial inequality, class inequality, and then just also the power dynamics that come with hierarchical organization, all are going to encourage people at the top to abuse the power to advance their own interests. And there's a certain type of communist who thinks that the solution to that is just to have people who have the hierarchy work for the right reason, but really the answer is to not have hierarchical organizational structures, because it's always just going to set itself to say, it's always going to put itself on the path to reproducing the inequalities of whatever society they're in. Miasma Theory said that'd be pretty cool, and I'm sorry that it would perform badly. Yeah, I got pretty shell-shocked. I made a video on the Girl Guides / Girl Scouts of World War II, and it was one of my favorite videos I ever made. It has an H Bomber Guy cameo, and it has had almost no views, and that pisses me off because I really like that video and I think it's really good. And it's one of those videos that I have a serious mind to revisit and remake at some point because I'm just so mad that nobody watched it. You remember that video? Yeah, it was also a video I filmed in the YouTube space, and I really, really love, like, that brief period in 2018, 2019, when I had access to the YouTube space, or 2017 and 2019 when I had access to the YouTube space, was magical. I love the videos that came out during that time. There was like a period where I was making a step back video every week, and I was making them in batches where I would make 5 of them, and then I would go to the YouTube space and I would record all of them in one day, and then I would upload them week on week on week, and all of them were videos like that I really liked doing, and they were really fun, and I really liked that process. And then the Toronto YouTube space shut down, and I've never recovered. I was like that is like the peak of the channel, and I'll never get access to like such a high quality studio again. And I'm like, oh man, it's so sad. I love those. I love that period of the step back so much. The tweed Jacko's rocking fashion. Yeah, I definitely need to bring back the jacket. Unfortunately, what happened was that jacket just fucking disappeared when I moved to London from Toronto. And now I'm like 100 pounds lighter than I was when I used to wear that jacket. So I would need to buy a new one anyway. And so, but you know, tweed jackets are a fall thing. So I pretty much can't buy it until it's the fall. And we haven't had a fall where like, you know, we weren't like in lockdown until this year. So hopefully this fall I'll be able to go get myself a tweed jacket that fits. So that's the thing, is I'm still losing weight and I still have a long way to go. So I might, for an expensive jacket like that, I might need to wait until I'm done this this process. That was also back when I was making Quickstep, and while I don't think Quickstep worked in the same way that it didn't work the way I wanted to. Like, I was going for a certain thing, and I don't think that that's what I should have been doing. But it was fun to have that sort of quick thing on top of other things. I don't know. It was good. It was good times. Wish you could craft you a jacket out of tweed. Aw. All right, let's see. What's the last question I got on the list here? Does someone have a right to live in a place they were born and raised, regardless of why they were born and raised there? So I think a lot of the anxiety, at least for white libs and leftists, about decolonization stems from the thought that the answer might be no. The answer might be no, but that's not a bad thing. Like, I don't like. It's sort of to think about it this way, right? Like, if you inherit, or if you have an object that is, if you own something that is stolen, but you didn't steal it, you bought it off of something, do you feel obligated to that you should return it? I think so. And when it comes to, like, what's it called? And if that is distinct from like the generational thing, then I don't know what to tell you at that point. But in many ways, that's like a next level conversation. Like, in many ways, like, you're talking about like step 17 of like a 20-step plan, where we are on step like -2. Because like indigenous people and decolonization at this moment is mostly about not actively oppressing and trying to erase indigenous cultures from the face of the planet. When that's dealt with, then about trying to give them their own autonomy and give them their, like, you know, give them rightly owned territory. In many ways, they're not even asking to take the whole continent back. They're talking about, like, you know, having sovereignty over their own communities and having, like, you know, better services and infrastructure and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, like, I don't even think they will, you know, even if everything got returned back to its rightful people, like, they wouldn't kick us out. You can always get a coat tailored if your size changes. I don't know how expensive tailors are. They can be pretty pricey. Like the land back, yeah, like land back in Canada is talking about returning land that currently only belongs to the federal government and is leased out to resource extraction companies, handing those over to the nations that they're stolen from. Like, that doesn't seem like a terrible idea at the moment. But that is all my questions. We've got about 8 minutes. What's something we can do to fill in? When I was a PhD student, what was your main source of income aside from Kelly? I was a research assistant. Like when you become a grad student at the university that I went to, you are guaranteed to get a job at the university. Typically, you're either a teaching assistant or a research assistant. So when you're a teaching assistant, it means that you become the I don't know what you call it, but I ran tutorials when I was a TA, and like I was in grad school at Western for 4 years. I did 4 years at Western, and 3 of those 4 years I was a TA. I TA'd. I TA'd children's literature my first year, and my second year I TA'd American history, and actually I TA'd the next 3 years after my first year. So I've TA'd the U.S. History Survey course 3 years in a row, which means like I taught the second year all of American history full year course, which was super fun. And then in my last year, because I lived in Toronto, they gave me a job as the digital history research librarian or whatever, which meant that I had the very vague job of basically being IT for the history department and helping people set up all of their computers and getting I had to manage all of the equipment lockers and stuff like that for all the computer stuff, which meant that I had to on every few weeks I had to get on a Greyhound and go to London to get all the technology working. But that was sort of my pseudo job for that year, and then I dropped out. But yeah, everybody got a job. We got maybe less. We didn't make that much money. I make less than minimum wage now, and I think I make twice what I made when I was a grad student. So some people said they submitted some more stuff to the Q&A thing. So let me check that out. I'm getting hungry. In the sci-fi book I'm reading, there's a bit where a guy hands in his PhD thesis and it's implied that his advisor had never seen it before. Am I right in thinking that this is ridiculous? Most of the time, yeah. There are some shitty supervisors who might not actually care too much about your dissertation, but for the most part, you're not handing in your dissertation unless you have worked back and forth with your professor on every aspect of your dissertation for years, and by the time you hand it in, you've probably had quite a bit of a back and forth. The only thing though is the only way that might be different, and I don't know what the PhD was in, but I know that it's quite a bit different in for my friends who were doing their PhDs in science. I had a lot of friends who were in neuroscience and in biology and all that kind of stuff. And they have a much more streamlined PhD acquisition process where their dissertations are very short. They're usually only put together in the last year of their PhDs, and most of the time it's 3 journal articles that they wrote during their PhDs just all smushed together called a sandwich thesis. It was a modern history. Yeah, any history PhD student, their supervisor probably has seen their things because their dissertations are humongous, and Like, you don't go and defend, like, for example, if you are getting to the point where you're defending your dissertation, it is extremely unlikely that you are not going to succeed. Like, they don't even, like, your supervisor wouldn't even let you submit your dissertation for a defense unless they were pretty sure that it could pass. Like, I've talked to people and they've said that like, one guy who was talking to said he's only ever seen one dissertation, like one PhD defense not succeed. And it was a person who submitted their dissertation despite the recommendations of their supervisor. Do you think that it's possible to turn the current wave of unionization and strikes into a proper anarcho-syndicalist revolutionary force? I don't know if we're at that point at this point. Be cool. It would be cool. But at this point, I think that what we need is just straight up, like, basic social, like, especially in the U.S., like, a social democracy and the, like, basic social democratic reforms that most of the rest of the world got in the 50s would be a huge upgrade to the way things are at the moment. Like, let's get like in the US, like let's just get them basic healthcare and, like, you know, maternity leave before having to deal with, like, whether or not people should like whether or not, like, we need, like, an anarcho syndicalist you know, takeover of the world. Great way to think for the future, but yeah, it might be the start of something, and that would be great. I would love to see a new labor movement and a new strong unionization push. But, like, yeah, like, I feel like when talking about ideal worlds, like making anarcho-syndicalism a thing again, we're a little far away from that. But that's fine. We work with what we got. All right. So it is almost 2 o'clock now. I'm going to wrap up the stream. So I'm going to find someone to raid. But yeah, this has been a real wild stream. Got all our fun stuff. So everybody, be great. Oh, we'll go raid Lumi. Why not? Yeah, keep yourself busy. You know, keep working for tomorrow. Be good to each other. Be good to yourself. And, yeah. Be excellent to each other. And I'll see you guys next week.